What it is by 10 Peace and Grease here, and I'd recently completed the Duviri Paradox, and I thought I'd talk a little bit about it. Now, don't worry if you haven't completed this. This will be 100% spoiler-free. Now, I want to start with the positives first, the things that I liked about the Duviri Paradox update, and the very first has got to be the world of Duviri itself. It is nothing short of stunning. Despite its differences from previous open-world locations, it is by far my favorite location to date. In fact, I would go so far as to say this is the best open world that we have ever had. The reason for this is you can tell the massive amount of time that DE has invested into this location, making it feel rich and making it feel alive. Where previous open world locations felt empty, devoid of activity, or devoid of life, it feels like there's something going on around every corner or every hill here on Duviri. From its collectibles to its NPCs reacting to your presence, to the random events and activities that you can partake in. The thing is, it is a superb job by DE, so home run DE. I'm also happy to report that with the new location, we also get a new enemy type, and this is the Dax enemy type. Now, there are obviously different units under this umbrella, but I will warn you, do not go into this thinking that they're going to be a pushover, because that's what I did, and I'm not ashamed to admit they put me on my ass a few times. So definitely go in here preparing for a fight, because they will, most certainly. Next up, I want to talk about the old tired shtick of fishing, hunting, mining, and bounties. Now, it's true when you enter Duviri, you're automatically entered into a multi-stage mission. That's fine. It feels natural. It feels normal. I have zero problems with that. Initially, I thought that they'd removed fishing, hunting, and mining. And don't get me wrong, I was A-okay with that. These systems were overused in previous open world locations, and they were weighed down with excess baggage. Meaning, if you look at fishing, for example, you needed a special spear in a special location with special bait at a special time of day. And you saw this with the hunting, the conservation as well. You would have to track an animal. You would need a special bait, and it was all this excess bullshit and baggage heaped on top. I'm happy to report that DE has stripped away all of that bullshit, and it's simple here on Duviri. You interact with the transference plate for fishing, you transfer into the Golden Maw, and you catch as many fish as you can within the time limit. I'll also add that utilizing the Golden Maw here makes perfect sense narratively. Whoever came up with this, at DE, you sir or madam, are a damned genius. Now, does the Golden Maw feel clunky? Yes, but to be fair, it always has. And in case you're wondering, yes, this is not the first time we've had the Golden Maw in this game. If you don't know where it was previously in Warframe, well, I'm not going to spoil it. I'll just say that you haven't been doing the right quests, aka the good quest, and we'll leave it at that. The conservation or the hunting is just as simple here in Duviri as well. As you're wandering around, an NPC will message you and say, hey, there's a wounded animal, can you please help it? That's it. That's literally how simple it is. Now, I have not found mining yet, so I don't know if there is any. Let me know down in the comment section if there is. I'm fine if it's not here, but I wouldn't mind seeing it if it is. Next up, they did add an intrinsic system for the operator/drifter, and at first, I freaked out when I saw this. I panicked because of Railjack. Railjack has a similar looking intrinsic system, but obviously Railjack's is an absolute nightmare. It's a disaster. But I'm also happy to report here that the intrinsic system is intuitive. It's simple. You do whatever activities you want in Duviri and you rack up intrinsics. And I'll add, you actually get a fair amount of intrinsics, so you can level up very quickly. Don't know if there's going to be a fifth category if you max out the other four like there was in Railjack, but I'll just kind of have to wait and see. Next up, we get a new mount in Duviri as well. Do not ask me how you pronounce this, because I don't have a clue. I don't know if it's Kithy, if it's Kythe or Kythe, or I have no idea how you pronounce this. I will say though, it's a simple mount. Narratively, again, it makes perfect sense. Yes, it does fly. I don't know if you can use it in other open world locations. Let me know down in the comment section. But given the fact that the land masses are so broken up with empty voids kind of between them, you needed something that could fly around. So, zero problem here. Also, by the way, a lot of cosmetics on that mount as well. Okay, now we get into the two things I didn't like about this update. And there's no polite way to say it. The very first one is the story. Okay. How do I say it? Okay, so the book, The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. I love that book. I love that story. Okay? But if I take that same exact story and all I do is move it to a different dimension or a different time, it's still just the Count of Monte Cristo story in a different setting. That's what I feel like they've done here with the Duviri Paradox. We're dealing with the Void Kid trauma again, yet again, that I feel like we've been doing for years now. And I just kind of feel like the Duviri location's wasted, and the story just left me wanting more. I'm just not a fan of the story, and I feel like it's probably one of the weaker stories in the past few years here in Warframe. But I am happy to report with Tenacon, it does seem as if we're getting the Whispers in the Wall, as well as Warframe 1999, which seems to go in a completely different direction, and I'm A-okay with it. Next up, moving on to the next problem, and that is you don't get to choose your loadout in Duviri. And that is annoying. Gamers like to multitask. Warframe players are no different. Meaning if I need to level gear and crack relics, I can do those things at the same time. If I need to farm relics and level gear at the same time or test builds, I can do that at the same exact time. This is the epitome of shooting oneself in one foot because you're cutting off the traffic going to Duviri. I'm avoiding Duviri, but I'm not doing it out of anger or spite. I'm doing it out of necessity. I've got primes that I need to farm. I have stuff I have to level, and I can't do that here on Duviri. Don't get me wrong. There's only going to be a few mission types where you're actually going to be able to utilize your Warframe and your weapons. But not being able to choose my loadout means I have to do something other than Duviri in order to complete various types of activities, which there have been so many fantastic decisions made in this update. To make this massively bad decision here just leaves me wondering what happened exactly. But anyway, there you have it. That's kind of my thoughts and opinions on the Duviri Paradox. Overall, I really did enjoy the update. Unfortunately, there were some bad decisions made here and there, and the story left me really kind of wanting something more, something different. But hopefully we'll get that in future updates. Feel free to let me know what you think down in the comment section below. And until next time, peace out.